Welcome back to the Keiser Report. I'm Max Keiser. Time now to turn to Peter Greenhill, Head of E-Gaming Development for Isle of Man. Peter, welcome to the Keiser Report.
Thank you very much.
All right, so first tell us, Peter, what is e-gaming and how much does it bring into your economy?
Okay, well, electronic gaming, gaming on the internet, currently accounts for just over 10% of the whole economy of the Isle of Man.
Right, so it's pretty significant. Now, Isle of Man is, from what I gather, you've done a great job in identifying niche markets. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but there was something to do with FAA licensing and this type of business where there was a regulatory opening where folks weren't interested in really tackling it because of all the regulations involved, but you guys kind of swooped in and said, we'll do all this work and develop a business, and it's really worked out well. And now you guys are moving into crypto business, correct?
That's right. We've done the same thing with cryptocurrencies that we've effectively done with e-gaming in the past. So we've recognised, exactly as you say, a niche in the market, but somewhere that we need to put proper controls over as well. So as long as we do it that way, we're comfortable in taking the business.
Right, so around other territories around the world, they're not sure whether they want to get into crypto, you know, they want to regulate it or not regulate it, and they're wringing their hands and not sure what's going on. So Isle of Man seems to be jumping in with both feet, recognizing an opportunity and then pursuing it. Is that correct?
That's exactly what we're doing. It's getting that balance right, recognizing the business opportunity, but also knowing that we've got to protect the consumer and also keep crime out. So as long as we get that balance right, then we're okay.
Right, so a couple of countries and territories have been mentioned as being the, quote, crypto Switzerland, if you will. You know, the place where crypto has a home. And Switzerland has been mentioned as a possibility. Here in London has been mentioned as a possibility. But it looks like Isle of Man is really emerging as that crypto valley, if you will, or Silicon Island. So what is your projection? Where is this going to go in terms of business, do you think?
Well, it's difficult to say what other countries will do and how quickly they'll do it. The benefits we have on the Isle of Man is able to move nimbly and swiftly when we see that opportunity. We're not hamstrung with various things that happen, for example, with the EU holding back on regulation or taking a lot of time to get that through. So we are able to make changes to our existing laws and regulations to give us the right controls over cryptocurrencies, and that's where we are today.
Right, and you're having a summit, I guess, coming up before too long. The Crypto Valley Summit, can you talk a little bit about that? Yeah,
17th and 18th of September. We're getting together C-level executives from various cryptocurrency organisations around the world. We'll have one day of looking at the whole industry and how that's developing, and the second day will then be dedicated to what the Isle of Man can do to help those companies to establish.
Why do you think these other countries are reticent about getting into the crypto business?
I think some of it is not understanding, some of it is not being able to change their laws and regulations quickly enough, and you know the standard problem with the EU having to come at things from so many different angles. The regulations there just really don't fit for cryptocurrency at the moment, and getting EU regulation changed is a very, very long process.
Right, and what is exactly the relationship between Isle of Man and the UK? Because I think a lot of people confuse the two and they assume that Isle of Man is part of the UK.
Yeah, we're not part of the UK per se. We are a Crown dependency of the UK.
A Crown dependency. Okay, I know what the Crown means. It goes back to the Queen.
That's it.
And so speak a little bit on the details.
Well, if we look at, one thing to look at actually is the currency. So if you look at the banknotes from the Isle of Man that we issue ourselves, the Queen doesn't wear a crown on those banknotes. So she's not the Queen of the Isle of Man.
This is remarkable. Very subtle. So,
it is very
on the
subtle.
Banknote, let me look at my banknote here. Now that let's look at our banknotes. This is all very fascinating. Here we've got a 20-pound note.
Let's see if I can find it. I can find an English one.
I see Queen Elizabeth here, looking young, quite young in this shot, wearing a diamond tiara.
Well, there we are. There's the equivalent.
Oh my God! Look at that. Yes, she's without her crown. Okay, we're going to get some close-up shots on this at some point. So this is this would not seem like a very meaningful distinction.
But that's just giving you an illustration. Yeah. Okay. We set all of our own laws. We're in fact the longest established and continuously running parliament anywhere in the world. So we do make our own laws. Obviously, we look across to the UK. For certain aspects, we have a relationship with them on the VAT side, so we share VAT, but we're not part of the EU, and we don't respond directly to UK laws.
What do you yourself trade Bitcoin?
I have some Bitcoin. I'm just in the process of actually getting some more as we speak.
And what do you think is the challenge? What do you think is the threat to, if any, to the established banking industry that Bitcoin represents? And what I mean by this is a lot of people talk about Bitcoin in terms of the fact that, to use a high-tech term, it disintermediates the banking industry because the cost of processing is near zero. The cost of sending money is near zero. As a currency, it has a lot of attributes similar to gold, et cetera. Is this the way you see it, number one? And number two, do you care? In other words, Isle of Man, it seems like their position is, we just want to be the back office of Bitcoin.
Well, I don't think it's a real threat to the banks today. I mean, if we went forward 20, 30 years, who knows what that might be. But I think the banks will themselves respond to digital currency, perhaps not Bitcoin in the form it's in today, but the whole concept of digital currency, and may well move some way towards that in the future as they see it becoming, as you've rightly said, it's a virtually instantaneous and virtually cost-free method of moving value from one place to another. So I think they will respond at some stage in the future. How, we'll have to see.
Now, I started off this interview making a reference to the FAA, which I believe could have been a completely red herring and make no sense in the context of this interview. What I was trying to get at is the satellite business.
Okay.
And I see that at the end of my list here, the satellite business as being an example of what the Isle of Man can do in terms of taking a business that was encumbered with a lot of regulatory mismatches, et cetera, as I understand it. You guys came in and said, wait a minute, there's a great business here somewhere if we can just sort it all out. Can you, to give an idea of what Isle of Man can do?
Okay, let's spread it a bit wider then. So yes, on the satellite side, also on aircraft registration, also on shipping registration. That's where the Isle of Man has set itself up. It's doing an incredibly good job in controlling and helping those industries to move forward. But that's exactly the same as we've done with e-gaming and exactly what we will be doing in cryptocurrency as well.
Yeah, I mean, once again, not to belabor the point, but the idea is that you guys specialize seemingly in taking up industries where the profit margins to sort through all the regulations are not interesting for a lot of other players, but you guys are like, you know what, we can do this and we can make a big business out of it. How is it? So the Isle of Man itself has a population of what?
85,000.
So it's 85,000, and what's it sounds like everybody's got a job there.
More or less. Our level of unemployment is incredibly low, sort of 2%.
And no crime rate either.
Very, very low crime rate indeed, and that's why a lot of people actually move to the Isle of Man because of that and the quality of the education.
How's the housing stock? Is it cheap?
Cheap is not the phrase that we tend. No, it's housing stock available, and there's room to build more. So the island could grow from that 80,000 people quite easily. We've got the space available, we've got the quality of countryside and quality of house building as well.
So if I'm a crypto entrepreneur, I would look to not only to take my business there, but move to Isle of Man.
That's certainly what we're seeing. We've had so many visitors to the island since the announcement that we made. There's probably 40, 50 different companies who've been looking at the island, seeing how that's right for them, and obviously we expect some more coming from the summit in September.
Now, on the e-gaming front, of course, what are we talking about? Gambling?
We're talking about gambling indeed. So we have the biggest gambling companies in the world, both operators and suppliers to the industry, who are headquartered there. So if we look at PokerStars, we look at Microgaming and Playtech, all headquartered on the Isle of Man. Is there
going to be a play for online gaming, that is to say gambling, with crypto?
Yes, we're already hearing those suggestions as well. There's a few areas we've got to look at, because you'll probably realise the Isle of Man is very strong in protecting the player in everything that we do. So we are at the forefront of that legislation. So all players' deposits into a gambling company are put to one side, they're ring-fenced, and if anything ever happened to that company, the government can then control that, pay it back to the players. We've got to make sure we can do the same thing with digital currencies as well, and we will do.
So here in the UK, there's a scheme for depositors. They have insurance. I think it's up to £85,000.
On bank deposits, that's right.
Bank deposits. Does that apply to you guys?
It doesn't. Oh, it does for banking, but not for digital currencies, because that's not seen as currency, as we know from.
So you guys are making, however, will protect those funds in these platforms or in these businesses?
In the gaming businesses, our legislation insists that players' deposits are put to one side and ring-fenced and not commingled with the company's own monies. So we keep that to one side, and we will do the same if that's a deposit in digital currency as well.
There was a huge scandal last year in Japan at the Mt. Gox. Their funds were, Bitcoin funds essentially were stolen, I guess is what happened. Since that time, there's been a lot of activity in the area of storage, cold storage, insured storage, and et cetera on Bitcoin. This is one of the concerns people have about Bitcoin. It seems as though these issues are being solved. And over at the Isle of Man, it seems as though you've made that a priority in terms of securing funds.
We want to work with those organisations to make sure that the right measures are in place to protect the consumer.
And I think Lloyd's of London was getting into the insurance side of things for a bit, and then they had maybe a second thought about getting into insuring Bitcoin deposits. But ultimately, the blockchain itself, which is the beating heart of Bitcoin, is, I think a lot of people are surprised in that it's actually more transparent than anything else.
Yes, I mean, people refer to sort of anonymity of Bitcoins. We all, those of us around the business know that's not the case. It's not anonymous. You can track those transactions. And of course, if people are putting a deposit into a gaming company, for example, that gaming company will do full KYC and AML checks on those people. And
just know your customer, anti-money laundering.
Exactly. So all those checks will be in place anyway.
All right, great. And so I think we're actually going to be at the event, the Coin Summit. Max Keiser, Stacey Herbert, Keiser Report. We're going to be covering it. Looking forward to it. What are some of the local tips I should be aware of? Any good restaurants to know about?
There's a few good restaurants. In fact, we'll take you to some of those. But the local fish, the local seafood, the local produce in meat is absolutely superb. So we'll take care of you. And
this is a lapel pin, I assume, that refers to Isle of Man. It looks like three legs spinning around a wheel.
The 3 legs of the Isle of Man. It's the Triskelion. It's anything that's on 3 legs, as you'll know, is much more stable. So whichever way you throw that, it will land and it will be solid and stable. Okay, fascinating stuff. So we've got about 20 seconds left. For the entrepreneurs out there in crypto land, how do they get in touch with Isle of Man? What's the next step for them? Okay, well, if they contact us through our website, if you look at Where You Can, that's a reference back to the Isle of Man and what we do for companies. It's where you can do various things. All of my details are there, but the details of getting in touch with anybody in government you can find there. All right, fantastic. Thanks so much for being on the Keiser Report. Thank you. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of the Keiser Report with me, Max Keiser, and Stacey Herbert. I'd like to thank our guest, Peter Greenhill. If you'd like to get in touch, tweet us at Keiser Report. Until next time, bye, y'all.